Hey everyone, Heather here with Journeys on the Mat. Today I wanted to talk about what it means to hold space for our emotions, particularly those emotions that aren't necessarily so comfortable or those that we want to distract from. When we are going through major shifts in our life, or when we are experiencing things that challenge us on a variety of levels, it is really easy for us to get into states of overwhelm, where the system begins reacting with emotions like anger or frustration, grief, or sadness. And these can be triggered by a variety of things. They can be an immediate event that's happened in our lives, or it can be a buildup, almost like a domino effect of events that have happened, leading us into a state where we are feeling a particular emotion that maybe we aren't necessarily comfortable with, or we've been told and conditioned to not be comfortable with. I was just chatting with a friend, and she and I were talking about how much society has kind of programmed us that sadness and grief, anger, frustration, that these aren't necessarily okay emotions to experience, that they're okay to experience for a short amount of time, but then you've kind of got to move out of it and move on, and things will be better, and don't worry about it. When the reality is sometimes we're really sad, and sometimes we need to grieve, and sometimes we're angry or frustrated. And when we don't take the time to properly process those emotions, they begin to build up in the system. It's almost like a toxin in the system. And it can begin to impact other areas of our life, like our health, our job and careers, our family, relationships with friends. So I want to talk about this concept of holding space, actually taking the time to process those emotions that maybe we aren't as comfortable with, or that make us feel awkward or uncertain. So to hold space actually means to take that emotion and give it the time it needs to work its way through the system. Now, given that many of us have things going on in our lives, it doesn't mean that we can just set everything aside and maybe go live in a cave for 3 months to really look that anger in the eye and process it and feel every aspect of it. What holding space does mean, though, is can we set aside some time in our lives, maybe 10 minutes a day, where we can sit with whatever that emotion is. I've myself had to deal with anger. Anger was my big emotion that I realized I hadn't processed for many, many, many years. And it was in 2014 that I realized that I had this deep well of anger from a variety of things that had happened in my life that had taken up residence in my body. And it has taken me since 2014 in small incremental steps to hold space for that anger, to realize that anger is actually a healthy emotion, that it's okay to be angry, that it's okay to express anger, that it's okay to sit with anger, and that even though it was really challenging and awkward in the beginning and I had no idea why I was feeling angry, by taking the time to sit with anger, I was able to begin to excavate and dig deeper into the origins of that anger, where it was coming from, why it had manifested, and then what were going to be the healthier ways that I could deal with that emotion in my system and in my life. I won't say that I have anger completely figured out, but anger is no longer something that makes me uncomfortable. It's not something that I want to distract from. So to hold space means to acknowledge what it is you're feeling. I am feeling this. And then to sit with it. And by sitting with it, I mean literally sitting with it. I mean hanging out on a couch, curling up in a chair, lying on the floor, staying in bed a few extra minutes to just allow the sensation of that particular emotion or feeling to wash over you. To see where in the body it's resonating on a physical level, what thoughts come to mind, what associations you're making, just so that you can begin to uncover and understand in a deeper way the origins of whatever that emotion is. Now, it would be very easy to just hang out in that space, curled up on the couch, feeling whatever it is we're feeling. But again, we are people, we have things going on in our days. So taking that time, but then giving yourself permission to move on. And then you can always revisit it again whenever you're ready. When we begin this process of holding space in these small incremental ways, it means that our body won't go into overwhelm. It means that our body won't be completely taken over by whatever this particular feeling or emotion is, to a point where we become incapacitated and can't move forward. When that happens, when we become overwhelmed and incapacitated, it can lead to things like depression, severe anxiety. And I have dealt with depression and severe anxiety. So I'm speaking of a place of knowing what it's like when the system goes into overwhelm with a particular emotion. And what I have found through experience is that if I take the time to hold that space in small ways over the course of time, I can begin to, in healthy ways, process whatever that feeling or emotion is. So hold space for yourself, because that is actually where the magic happens. When we hold space in these small incremental steps, these micro shifts begin to happen in the system where we no longer hold on to that story, that experience, that whatever that trigger is for that emotion. Instead, we begin a process of releasing and letting go. That's magical. That is, and I'm speaking from experience here, it's pure magic to be able to slowly release and let the body relax and release from the grip of not wanting to hold space for that emotion, not wanting to deal, not wanting to look at it, not wanting it to be a part of who we are, because we've been taught that it's not okay that that's a part of who we are. We are human. Grief, sadness, anger, frustration, all of these emotions that we've been told are not okay, they are okay. They are okay. And when we can hold space for them, they become even more okay. And then when we hold space for ourselves, we're able to hold space for others who need to go through that process as well. That's magic. Holding space for yourself is magic. And I encourage you to give it a go. Until next time, brave souls, be good out there.